Hello, this is Albert and happy Easter. Today I am going to discuss about a game that I just played against a stronger player than me. And let's just get into the game because I think this is a very interesting game for me as I am successfully checkmated my opponent with a battery of rook and queen. So let's just have a look. I am playing against Sipahi. I'm not sure if it's actually correct to spell the name or not. From Turkey, and he was rated 1678 while I'm rated 1572. So I am well 100 rating below him. But I was black here, and then he was white, or maybe she was white. I'm not sure what gender this person is. But let's just have a look. E4. So it's king pawns game, opening e4, e5, and then knight goes to f3, attacking the pawn at e5, and this is a pattern of defense, so I move my knight to f6. The idea is if white knight takes e5, then I can just counterattack using my queen goes to e7, or basically I can counterattack with any other moves. And it continued with d3, which is protecting the pawn at e4, so it's defending well. And then I also defend my pawn at e5 using my knight goes to c6. White continued with c3 and then b6, which is an idea of fianchettoing my bishop, my white square bishop, to control the main white square diagonal of the board. So, and actually, yes, sorry, before I move on, yeah, the idea is actually guessing that white will castle kingside, and this will directly attack to the king side of white, which is on the left hand side of your screen. And then, yep, white continued with bishop goes to e2, which is trying to protect the. I'm not sure why it's actually there. It's probably just trying to clear up the space to castle, but I don't think it's actually pretty mature because it's actually pretty weak if you compare it to a fianchetto bishop. So I go on with fianchettoing my bishop. It's a very long term. I'm not sure if there's any shorter term for fianchetto. It's an Italian word. So bishop goes to b7, trying to attack if white castle. White move with bishop goes to g5, trying to pin the knight at f6, and what I did is I actually ignore this. I just move my knight to e7, and this knight is going to go to g6. The plan is actually to open up probably h file and then g file if white actually castle without actually probably thinking firsthand. So white knight goes to take e5, which is a temporary control of a pawn, and I continue with knight goes to g6, and the idea is if white took the knight, which it did, so white takes the knight, I will just take using my pawn at h, so h will goes and take g6, and suddenly there is an open h file, and then if actually the white dark square bishop takes f, the knight at f, then I'll just take it using my pawn at g, so there will be an open file of h file and g file, which hopefully white will castle at the king side, and then it actually suddenly gets shocked because all the files are open using my, and I can attack using my rook and maybe queen as well. So yeah, white took the knight at g6, and I just continue on. So h takes takes g6, and here it comes. I think this is a mistake by white. It castled here, so directly I just try to attack the pawn at h2, and white has to protect it, so it goes g3 like that. But remember that I have fianchetto my bishop, which is my white square bishop at which is bishop at b7, and this can easily go under fire if it cannot protect correctly. It already opened a pawn in front of the king, which is the pawn at g2 goes to g3, and then the white square bishop next to the king and then in front of the king is very vulnerable to attack of my bishop or my queen later on. So yep, I go c5, just trying to prevent any nasty attack or pawn advances. So c5, and then bishop goes to f3, trying to sort of control the diagonal. Maybe later on it will continue with rook goes to e1, and then probably the pawn advances from e4 goes to e5, and then suddenly there is a fork of my horse, sorry, my knight, and also the bishop. But this can be prevented. Um, so my king is actually in the middle at the moment, and it needs the castle, I believe, because there will be that such attack that I just mentioned. So I just move my queen to c7, and it's actually a double in purpose, which is doubling the battering or doubling the attack um, to support my black square bishop, as well as actually freeing up space for the king to castle queenside for me later on. So yep, what goes here is bishop took my knight at f6, and then I just took back. It's just an exchange of pieces, and from here I can just basically easily castle later on. So knight goes to d2, probably trying to defend or maybe attack, build up an attack, and I just castle goes to queen side, and then my idea is actually from this position I will just try to double up the attack on h file, because I have my two rooks there, so I'm going to form a battery. So c4, trying to knight goes to c4, trying to attack my bishop at d6, and I actually ignore it. I just doubling up double up my rook. So rook goes to h6, a4, probably try to attack my king or my weak side of my king, but actually it still take a long time to go because I defend pretty well with my queen there. So, and actually, yeah, as you can see from the engine here, it is saying that it is a mistake. So because maybe it's a pretty slow one. So here we go. Rook at d goes to h8, and then it's actually already a threat at h2. So how does black defend this? Sorry, how does white defend this? So yeah, knight goes to e3, which is trying probably to goes to g4 later on, trying to defend the pawn at h2, and then I just do an intermediary move here, which is f5. The purpose of this move is actually trying to challenge the pawn at e4, and then if the pawn moves at all, I'm going to take the bishop at f5. Sorry, yes, at f3. Yep. So it actually took the bait, which is e takes f5. So what I did was I just rook takes h2, and actually this is not pretty accurate at all, because probably the best move was bishop takes g3, because if Yeah, probably it's just the best move here. I'm not really sure which one is actually should go first or not, but then I'll just continue on. From here, white actually is making a blunder, which is taking my bishop at b7 and check. Because why this is a blunder? Because it is actually giving up control of the main diagonal of white square of the board. So my queen took back, and suddenly there is a threat of mate, um, because the main diagonal, the white square main diagonal, is actually controlled by black at the moment, which is the queen. And what can white do to avoid mate in one by protecting the queen to go to h1? It can only close using pawn goes to f3. And what I did was I moved my rook to h1 check, and instead of going to f2, the king actually advanced forward, which is a very bad move, and I just checkmated it. So it was suggested that I should have just taken the bishop, should have just taken g3 first, but then luckily white also made mistake. So that's the end of the review. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.